Hi, this is Gary on Manufacturing, the podcast dedicated to making you successful in making manufacturing a more important integral part of the manufacturing enterprise. I'm Gary Minchell. Title of this podcast, videocast, is Why the Manufacturing Connection. And we just went live. I'm recording this July 2nd. We went live last week with after a couple of months of planning, figuring out what we're going to cover, doing website design, and all the stuff that goes along with that. It was a complete website design and built from the ground up. And my thanks to John DePietro, somebody I knew through ISA, who has been a systems integrator and now is an inbound marketing expert and did a great job with the website. We're still working on it, but we're getting there, and it's going along. So check out themanufacturingconnection.com. And also, I hired a young freelance artist, just fresh out of college, somebody I knew his family, did the logo and other stuff. And it's great working with young people, getting some enthusiasm that goes along with that. And that's always way cool. So, The Manufacturing Connection, themanufacturingconnection.com. So why did it happen? Title of this one. Well, I of course started after a career in manufacturing. I worked for Control Engineering for 5 years, and then had an opportunity to start Automation World, and had a 10-year run there, and that's a long time. It's the longest I've ever spent in one place. Not always by my choice, but that's the way it goes sometimes when the economy goes sour. But it was a good run. But after 8 years, we got some. There started to be a lot of changes, and pretty soon I looked around and said, it's a whole different team and a whole different thing, and pretty much I'm just kind of cranking out the same magazine, and it's time for new people to take over, and I want to do something else. And so it's time to be creative. I left at the end of January. I went to the ARC forum in February with absolutely no plan. And actually, to do a little market research was as much as anything, and to talk to people. I had business cards printed up. I printed up real quickly, but it was really no business, no plan, nothing right at that time. And so after gelling a lot of stuff, talking with a lot of people, consulting with a lot of people, and looking for a domain name that I could buy, it all seemed to come together. And so that's where we started to work on the Manufacturing Connection. Essentially, from a practical standpoint, I'm taking my old Gary Minchell's Feed Forward blog. It had an original name. It was originally Gary Minchell's radio weblog, and then I morphed it into Feed Forward, and now I'm basically taking it, migrating it over to a new platform, but I'm going to be having some new focuses as I go on with that. And another part of the thing is I'm always looking for things to cover. So we started Automation World, and I didn't come up with a name. It was handed to me, like, we're starting a magazine. It's going to be called Automation World. Would you come and be the founding editor? And I said yes, and it was a great opportunity. I worked with some fantastic people. Really appreciate it. Lloyd Ferguson was the owner, and in fact still is. Great guy. You have nothing but respect for Lloyd and the team. But I've been on the internet ever since 1990, and I'm more of an internet technology person than I am a print person. It's not that I don't believe in print. Print is fine, and it has its place, and I get a lot of print stuff that I read. But a lot of things can only be covered digitally for a lot of reasons. Digitally lends itself better to covering certain kinds of things, and a company built on digital platform can be an awful lot less expensive to run than a print. I don't have the circulation costs, I don't have the print costs, I don't have the mailing costs, I don't have all the problems going along with all that. I don't have production. Basically, the Manufacturing Connection is blog style journalism, so I'm just taking what I have been doing. I'm going to be focusing it a little bit, and I'll get into that in just a second. But you could build a whole company a lot better digitally. I am copying off of people I've been reading and respecting for a long time. Well, in internet years, a long time. For instance, GigaOM, TechCrunch, Pando Daily. They're all built on WordPress rather than some of the old content management systems that magazines use, like Joomla or Drupal. So I'm doing some of that, and so I'm built on WordPress. and it's all digital. With my manufacturing experience, I know how to keep costs low, or reasonable anyway, and so that's part of the whole thing too. So building a new company this way, and that's where we're going. So coverage. Um, so I kind of looked at the thing, and when I took over Automation World and we started it up, I said, okay, there are a lot of magazines that cover controls, and controls are still important, but there's kind of a new emphasis that's called automation, which is kind of controls plus information plus networking and so on. And so we built a magazine based on that, and pretty soon everybody's saying that they're doing automation too, and that's okay. They were. But I'm always looking for the next thing. Well, controls are still important. We still have to control processes and loops and machines and all this sort of stuff. And the automation part of it, kind of still goes along too, and it's still important. And we're still going to have magazines that cover that. I don't want to compete in that arena. But where there isn't a lot of focus right now is kind of like the next thing that people are talking about. It's like, what do you do with it? So what? So why? So why do we control this? And so we can control a bunch of loops, and I have a DCS system, and I can control this, and I can do, I could do all this. We need to answer the why. Like in lean manufacturing, you do 5 whys, so you have to start asking why several times. And so why do we do automation? Why do we do, even manufacturing? So let's start at the basics. So part of the basics is what we're calling the Internet of Things these days, or connected enterprise, or connected things, or it previously was called M2M, machine-to-machine communication. And it's all these intelligent devices, intelligent even with included maybe even wireless networking built in, or at least some sort of networking built in. So we have intelligent devices connected together through some sort of network, and then they need to connect to some sort of another layer. The ISA, well, the old Purdue model, or the ISA 95 model, it's the layer 3, or otherwise called MES or MOM. I wish they would settle on a name, and maybe I'll help do that. So, but we have that layer of connectivity which sucks all the data up and it puts it into various kinds of databases, or makes it otherwise available, maybe historians, maybe other kinds of databases, relational or so on. And then we have analytics on top of that, and so they have specialized niches, and so they may be quality, and they may be production, inventory, and they may be routing processes, and whatever the verticals are, and vertical by industry like pharma and discrete manufacturing and so on. So that's why it's kind of a complex area. But the essential thing is it sucks all this data up, turns it information, it does analytics on it, so you can then provide visualization in the form of various kinds of dashboards or other visual tools, or mobile. So I've got my iPad here with my brand new Jelliskin, by the way. But anyway, so So we have to make sense out of all this data. We need to communicate to the ERP system. People have invested millions of dollars in SAP, Oracle, and other ERP systems, much of which has not paid off the way that they thought, and it's only going to pay off if we can connect it all together. Manufacturing connection. It's all about how can we make manufacturing a more integral part of every enterprise, so that we don't get these finance managers in some far-off corporate place saying, it's a black box, and it's just an expense, and it's a cost sink, and let's get rid of it. But actually it's not true. Manufacturing is an integral part of innovation. And it's not just product design, it's product design and development and making the thing, and it all fits together for innovation. So we're an integral part. So I want to talk about all that. I want to make why is all this important, and the products are intelligent devices, both on the sensing and actuating side, networking, so all the networking and protocols and OPC and that sort of thing, into the software layer, which can be called MES, but whatever it's called, it's data aggregation, data analytics, and then data display and visualization and communication with ERP up and down. So that's what I'll be covering, and that's the gist of the manufacturing connection. Like I say, I'll be doing blog-style journalism, like I have been doing for a long time. Only I had Feed Forward as a hobby, and Automation World as a job, and Automation World was AP Style Manual and that whole thing. AP Style Manual is still pretty important. We don't want like lawsuits and stuff. but it's a different style, and the style is blog style, more opinionated, more me throwing in my experiences and the experiences of people I talk to. The podcast still going on. Popular podcasts are very popular. The difference will be, and some of you have written to me over the years that said, please don't take advertising because, we trust you and all that sort of stuff. Well, I have to make some money. So I walked away from a fairly well-paying job. So you'll see ads, I hope. Or please advertise if you're a marketing person. At any rate, we'll be doing some of that. We may even take sponsors of podcasts, but that, I'm still me. I still do what I do. And if the sponsor doesn't like it, I don't have to worry about the sales guys getting all nervous because I am the sales guy, and so that's the way it is. Just double checking my notes. So pretty much that's what I've got to say. That's why the Manufacturing Connection. It's just I want to be creative. I want to start in a new direction. I want to cover some things that aren't being covered. Nobody covers that right now. There are a couple, three analysts. There's some good analysts. I talked to like Julie Frazier, Cindy Jutras. Matt Littlefield has hired Mark Davidson, who retired from Inventus, and he's covering that as an analyst. So there are several analysts covering it. Other people may cover pieces of it, but nobody's really going to focus on it. So I'm going to do automation and operations. It's called operations management, and that'll be the other part of it. And the other part I'll try to cover with some depth is education. I've had conversations with people much smarter than me, like Terry Blevins, who's doing a lot of work on education right now and getting information out to the next generation of engineer. So I want to put more of that, either pointers or stuff on my site. So look for more. Go to themanufacturingconnection.com and sign up for my email newsletter I'm going to be sending out. Initially, at least weekly, just with some additional insights and maybe some news in addition. And then we'll look at. I'm looking at some styles of some people who are doing some pretty cool things with news updates, and that's the next step that we'll be going on to there. And then the next step will be a pro level, but we'll talk about next steps later. Just come visit the website and come sign up for the newsletter. And this is Gary Mitchell speaking on manufacturing.